Good afternoon. You're now live.
Good evening and welcome to the May 25th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Commissioner Thomas, who is the chair, is absent this evening, and I am Commissioner Gordon. I'm the vice chair. So perhaps, David, you could call the roll.
Sure. This is for attendance this evening. Commissioner Vega?
Present.
Commissioner Bennett?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Here.
Commissioner Manise?
Here.
And Chair Gordon.
And I'm here. Thank you.
You have a quorum this evening.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is dealing with conflict of interest. Is there anyone from the commission or the community development that they feel they have a conflict of interest on any of the items on the agenda this evening? Please speak up, raise your hand. Seeing none, all right. Then we can move on to the approval of the minutes from the meeting of April 27th. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
I will motion the approval of the minutes. Commissioner Guerrero.
This is Commissioner Bennett, and I'll second.
David, could you please call the roll for a vote?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is for the approval of the April 27th, 2021 minutes. Excuse me. Commissioner Vega? Commissioner Bennett?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Yes.
Commissioner Moniz?
I was absent.
Okay. Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Your minutes were approved, 5, 1 abstention and 1 absence.
All right, thank you. According to the agenda, there are no postponements, but are there any that aren't listed? All right, seeing none. Is there any public participation from anyone perhaps who might be on that wants to discuss anything that is not on the agenda for this evening?
Mr. Chair, it looks like the folks that are attending the meeting are all involved with a application or a case that's further down your agenda. So it doesn't look like there's just anybody from the general public.
All right, thank you. In that case, let's move on to the consent agenda. There is nothing on the consent agenda this evening. There is no old business. So I guess we can just move on to new business. Tonight, there are 2 items on the agenda this evening. Can I have a motion for the first item and a second? Please. Someone? Someone make a motion, please.
Commissioner Guerrero here. I will make a motion for the first item. I don't have the number right in front of me. That's why I wasn't responding.
Well, I think we decided that we're just going to list them by item, we weren't going to read the case number.
Oh,
Unless
perfect.
we want to change that. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Smith. I second.
All right, thank you. Is there a staff presentation on this item?
Mr. Chair, John Castillo will present this case to the commission.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, John.
You're on mute, John.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Commission. Today we are going to be discussing a non-administrative replat. It's the J.F. Davis Summary Subdivision Replat number 2. So this is a property located at 407 Fred Way. It's a single-family residential lot that encompasses 0.287 acres. It's currently zoned R2, which is our multi-dwelling, low-density zoning district. And it's a development of a neighborhood which consists of duplexes and triplexes. There's single-family homes on there as well. And it's also a local roadway, which is connecting to an arterial roadway, which is 3 Crosses Avenue. So this image here is the subject property at 407 Fred Way. The images that are provided are looking westbound on Fred Way, cul-de-sacs at the end, then eastbound towards 3 Crosses Avenue. This is an aerial map of the area, as well as our zoning map showing that the property is zoned R2. So the customer is proposing a non-administrative replat, which is being subdivided into 2 residential lots. The lot sizes are 0.144 and 0.143 acres in size. It does meet the subdivision code design standards and the 2001 zoning code, housing plan, and active transportation plan. At the time that this was created and the staff report went out, there were notices were sent out to the surrounding properties, and staff did not receive any phone calls or comments or concerns from the community surrounding the area. Staff also reviewed the information, and it was sent out to all relevant agencies and departments. They all supported the proposed non-administrative replat. On April 7th, 2021, the DRC, or our design review committee, met. They did give approval they recommended approval of the proposed replat. Staff recommendation is giving approval based upon the reviews by the relevant city staff to proposed replat known as JF Davis Summary Subdivision Replat Number 2. Complies with the subdivision code. The proposed new lots that are being created by the replat comply with all requirements of the 2001 zoning code. And then the DRC recommended approval of the replat during a public meeting on April 7th, 2021. Today, the options are to vote yes for approval, vote no for denial, vote yes with conditions, or vote to table. So I'd like to
Thank you, John. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? All right. Seeing none or hearing none, is there a statement?
Mr. Chair, I believe Commissioner Guerrero had raised his hands.
Okay. Commissioner
Yeah,
Lewis?
thank you. Thank you. I just had a question. Is where's the line going to be between each property? Is this being divided into 2?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Guerrero, it's going to be relatively close to the structure that's already there. It is a few feet away from it. But the applicant also is requesting that home that is there will either be removed or possibly renovated if possible.
Well, then I have a question. Are they going to meet the setback requirements?
Yes, they'll meet the setback requirements.
So as long as the line is somewhere down the middle of the property, as long as they meet the setback requirements, shouldn't make any difference?
No.
All right. Commissioner Guerrero, does that satisfy your question?
Yeah, I was just curious.
That's fine. No problem. You should ask if you have a question. Is there anyone else who had a question or a comment? All right. Well, then seeing none, is there perhaps a statement from the petitioner who wishes to say something before we take it to the public? David, does someone want to speak?
Mr. Chair, the applicant is present this evening, and I think I've just promoted them to the meeting, and Mr. Underwood, if he wanted to, could make a presentation or answer any questions that you have.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, this is Larry Underwood. We're the surveyors engineers for this project. We have arranged for,
Mr. Underwood, I'm sorry to just interrupt you, but I have to swear you in, please. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
I do indeed.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
The owner of this property is attending this meeting tonight, Kathy, and should there be any questions, she's free to answer them. But as far as we are concerned, this does seem rather elementary and a very simple job. There was an original partition between this lot. I guess it was, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. That partition was vacated, so now the owner would like to reconstruct and put the partition line back in the midway between the right and the left lot lines that this has now, so that both, if this is approved, both of these lots that this partition line will create, they're of equal distance. So I did have a long talk with the owner an hour ago, and she's prepared to move the mobile home, either turn it 90 degrees to the street or some other angle. She isn't even sure if this mobile home is worth trying to save by doing something like that. But you're certainly well aware, like Mr. Castillo said, that we're not going to create any violation of the setback requirements. So I think she and we don't have any questions for the commission, and we're both available to answer questions.
Mr. Underwood, thank you. Is there anybody from the commission who wishes to ask a question? Well, if not, David, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that there is anyone from the public here.
All right, then I guess we are prepared to vote.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll take the roll call. Commissioner Vega?
I approve based on the site visit and meeting with the Elevate Las Cruces plan.
Commissioner Bennett?
I vote yes, based on the commentary here and staff recommendation.
Commissioner Smith?
I approve based on it meets the standards for site compliance for the current use.
Commissioner Guerrero?
I vote yes as well, based on fitting Elevate Las Cruces and staff recommendations.
Commissioner Moniz? I think you just muted yourself, Commissioner Moniz.
I think it froze.
Oh, okay.
Is that what something happened? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm voting yes on the recommendations of staff regarding this. But I would like to see it upgrade on mobile homes within the city limits, if they're going to still allow them. So I hope they're contemplating whether to get rid of that older mobile home. So, but I'll say yes.
Chair Gordon?
I did a site visit. According to findings and discussion and in compliance with Elevate Las Cruces, I also vote yes.
Mr. Chair, the subdivision plat has been approved and you're ready for your next item on the agenda.
All right, thank you. All right, can I have a motion then for the second item on the agenda? Please.
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Yes, I'll second it. Sorry, we're all having technical
Okay, cut in and out.
But yes, second it.
Hello,
All right, then. Is there a staff presentation on this item, please?
Mr. Chair, there is. Vincent Benegas will be making that presentation for you.
Mr. Chairman, Vincent Benegas for the record. I will be presenting the case 21Z005-00029, which is the Hillrise Drive multi-parcel rezoning effort, seeking to change the zoning from R4 to O2. But a point of order before we continue discussion on this case, there are two parcels that were originally part of this request. It has come to light that they are not part of a condominium arrangement as was once believed, and so therefore there has to be some additional research to determine how they have come to be in terms of the lot layout that they currently exist in. And those would be for the parcels that are addressed 3003A and 3003B. So if we could have a motion to remove those from further consideration, that would be great.
Does that mean that we're going to have to bring this item back for those two parcels?
We would bring those two parcels back, and then a third that provides access and parking to the two parcels that house the building. So those would be coming back at a later date. We could postpone to the next meeting, next month's meeting, and then assuming that we get those issues resolved, we'll proceed. If not, then we'll have to table.
Well, I have a suggestion, perhaps, since that this is really nothing that is just changing of zoning. And basically, when I looked at the properties, they're all medical or office buildings. Perhaps we should just postpone this to, say, our next meeting when we can resolve these two items or three items and then put it all together as a correct package, and let's do it then.
Yeah, for those three parcels, Mr. Chair, is that what you're referring to?
Oh, I'm talking about doing all of it.
Wants to do all of it.
Mr. Chairman, this is a point of order. This is David Weir. The applicant's representative is here this evening. I believe that there are some arrangements or contracts that may be impacted if you don't take action tonight on the remaining parcels. So I would recommend that you postpone the two parcels that Mr. Benegas has noted, and you go ahead and review the remaining parcels so that the zone change can continue to go through the process, and then it wouldn't create any other changes or modifications to previous agreements on the tracks.
Okay, considering that, what would cause, I had no problem with it either. I just thought it would be easier, but since we have this complication, I guess we could go along and do that. If you could just repeat the numbers that you want to remove from this, and then someone will make a motion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the subject properties are these parcels, these two small parcels here, and those are for 3003A and 3003B. Those are the addresses for those parcels.
All right, and I guess if we could get a motion from one of my commissioners, we can go ahead and do that, and we can eliminate that and bring that back at a future time, and then we can resolve the current item that's on the agenda.
Okay, this is Commissioner Bennett. I make a motion that we remove 3003A and 3003B from this
Application.
Second.
And Commissioner Guerrero, I second that removal.
Okay.
David, does that meet the requirement to do this?
It does. I just need to take the roll count to remove those parcels from this case this evening.
I just want to make sure that the motion is correct.
Yeah, it is. And if you'd like, I'll go ahead and take roll on the
Yes.
amendment. Okay. Commissioner Vega,
Yes, I agree.
Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes, I agree.
Commissioner Guerrero,
Yes.
Commissioner Moniz.
You may be muted.
Yeah. Commissioner Moniz or? Okay, Commissioner or Chair Gordon.
Yes.
Okay, the amendment passes and if you'd like, Vince can go ahead and present the rest of the parcels for you.
Okay, will this be a time certain for the next meeting?
I believe that's the way. You didn't specify a different date, so we'll have to put it on the agenda for next month.
That's fine.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, again, this is a rezoning effort from R4 to O2 for 5 parcels instead of the original 7 that may be identified in the staff report. The reference to the word conversion speaks to a process that we used to follow upon adoption of the 2001 Las Cruces zoning code as amended, whereby we were seeking to realign and make congruent the existing land uses on properties with the 2001 zoning code. There were stipulations that may have changed within each zoning district, and so we would take on the effort to try to bring about conversion to the most appropriate zone for the uses that we saw on the property. The current conditions for this case show that the following addresses are applicable to the properties in question. We have eliminated, of course, 3003 from consideration. All the properties on both the notice letters and the advertising in the paper and on the maps that we will show here tonight reflect all the properties in question. They're currently zoned R4, which just for reference sake is our multi-dwelling, high density, limited retail and office use district. And one of the parcels that has the R4 base zoning had a condition placed on it when it received rezoning back in, I believe it was 2006. It went from an R3 zone to an R4 zone, and at the time, City Council opted to place a condition on it requiring that uses only be professional offices only. So at this point in time, for all intents and purposes, all the properties have R4 zoning. The existence of the R4 zone today presents some non-conforming zoning related issues with our current code. Those being that non-residential uses are specifically called out in that they cannot exceed 35% of the existing floor area of the buildings that they occupy, nor can they exceed a 1,500 square foot size requirement. Most of those properties under consideration, except for 2, exceed the 1,500 square foot requirement, and all properties exceed the 35% threshold that's identified. And because of those elements, we have to seek a more congruous zoning district that meets the intent of our zoning code and obviously the use out on site. As indicated, we are now talking about 5 parcels in total, 4 condominium buildings. Those buildings and the parcel they sit on are located right at the corner of Telshore Boulevard and Hillrise Drive. All the properties are developed and have been developed since various years prior to our 2001 zoning code. Some of them were developed in accordance to our 1981 zoning code and others in accordance with the 1969 zoning code. So they've been around a while. But one thing has remained consistent. They've always been professional office or medically related since their construction. We have various acreages involved from 0.4 acres to 1.04. This is a map showing the subject properties. Again, we are not considering these two, but the areas that have properties outlined in yellow are the ones in question. Just to orient you, South Telshore Boulevard runs north-south here, and Hill Rise Drive along here. You can see there is a bulk of the immediate surrounding area that's zoned R4. This was that one that was R4 base zone with a condition of professional use only applied to it. You already begin to see some effort to change zoning, in this case for this parcel here, which is not part of the case, but nonetheless, there was an effort back in 2006, I believe, to change the zoning to an O2 designation. And in this instance, it was always the intent of the property owner to build a much larger medical building or professional office building. And so they had to go through the process to make that happen. You also have a property that's not part of this request, but nonetheless, it is an O1 designation. Our O1 and O2, O1 is our neighborhood office and O2 is our professional office designation in our zoning code. You'll see that elsewhere you're surrounded by R4. You have R4 across the street on the west side, across Telshore. Those are apartment buildings, and leading further west, it transitions over to single family residential development. On the south side, you have R3 designated properties. You have some offices, and you also have an elementary school here at this location. And further east, you have single family residential as well. Hill Rise Drive transitions from what we see as the medical office and the office type uses into townhome or patio home style development located here. Some of those properties are still zoned R4. The remaining are R3, with R3 going further north, northeast of the subject location. And so there's a mixture of zoning that is in the immediate area, and certainly a mixture of uses, and many, all of the uses that are subject to this case have been in existence in a professional office form since their development. This is an aerial map showing the same properties. You can see that Hill Rise Drive is a continuous roadway with some limited intersection, the primary one being with Telshore. And I just showed that to kind of orient you with some of the surrounding uses. The proposal, as we now know, seeks to realign and rezone the properties from R4 to O2. They will be made consistent with the provisions of our 2001 zoning code as amended. And O2 zone was selected because it's the most appropriate zone that provides the compatibility with our code and the uses and compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. The conversion effort that I mentioned earlier, we took it upon ourselves as a staff upon adoption of the 2001 code for years thereafter to bring about compliance with existing uses. And this effort this evening is a first step that is very similar, eerily similar to those efforts undertaken shortly after adoption of the code. So that's why I listed it as conversion, as opposed to a true zone change that you would typically see. The proposal request received approval from all reviewing parties. And I just have a few pictures of some of the properties in question. Some of them, office space within each building may be vacant at the moment, but nonetheless, the intent is to bring in like uses in the near future. Just another example. This is right here along Hill Rise Circle, I believe it is. and a view looking westward towards Telshore, and a view looking east towards the city limit boundary eventually. In terms of analysis of this case, staff no health, safety, or welfare related issues or concerns. Again, the O2 zone provides the greatest compatibility overall. The properties, there are 3 that actually fall within the urban place type of our Elevate comprehensive plan, and the remainder fall within the suburban place type. Those place types are similar they do focus on residential uses a bit differently, but nonetheless, both place types encourage mixed use style of development, which, as we've seen, this area does provide. We would realign the existing zoning district as mentioned. And in terms of public notice and input, of course, we did follow the appropriate course of action on that. In terms of phone calls or input received from the general public, we only received 1 call, and it was just of a general inquiry type basis. In terms of staff recommendation, staff would recommend approval based on the following findings: that the subject properties have been in use for professional offices as we see today since their inception. The zone change would allow the retention and possible attraction of like businesses in the area consistent with the zoning code. And non-conforming related zoning issues would go away with approval of this request up through City Council. And the subject properties have direct access to Hillrise Drive, and Hillrise Drive has suitable right-of-way and paving width to accommodate the existing uses and any future related uses that we may see. And this proposal was found to be consistent with the neighborhood character and compatibility type issues, the comprehensive plan, the thoroughfare plan, our zoning code, and of course the criteria for decisions found in our municipal code. And your options this evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, is to vote yes and approve the request, vote no and deny it. Please keep in mind that all the information presented through this discussion has been in the affirmative for approval. So if you do vote no, you'd have to provide new information to the contrary. You could vote yes with conditions or vote to table. And that concludes staff's presentation. Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Venegas, very much. Very nice presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? All right, I see none. Is there a statement or any kind of comments from the applicant that we might find interesting or necessary?
I would like to make a comment if I can be sworn in.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
My name is Kerry Bolsterbaum. I'm the applicant on behalf of the multiple parcel owners that are part of this zone change.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Go ahead, thank you.
Okay, there's not much more I can add to what Vince had laid out. It's very well chronicled. I just want to make 2 points that I think are kind of critical from a reality aspect. I'm a commercial real estate broker in town, and it just so happens that almost every one of these properties, and I can assure you we've been just as busy over a 20+ year period on the other side of Hillrise. This area has a major disconnect on a high percentage of properties, not all, being well in excess of 1,500 square feet, or that square footage disconnect that Vince was alluding to. What makes it different today is, since Obamacare got passed, probably since the late 70s, early 80s, there's been very limited vacancy periods on the majority of these properties because the majority of these were medical properties that were fully absorbed. There was never a need to file for a business registration or anything of that nature because these have had very limited vacancy periods and they were always within zoning compliance. Well, more and more of these physicians are going to work for the major hospital just due to the structure of Obamacare, and you are seeing a lot of vacancies and pending vacancies upon the street. And the problem is that under an R4 designation compared to an O2 and the square footage disconnect is that if these folks had to either sell, lease, file a business registration on almost every single property under this zone change, and I can assure you there's a lot more, we just couldn't get to jump in on this. There's a major problem in the zoning code. They can't be approved for an active business registration without some flexibility from the city. And I just, not much more I can add to that, but I just think it's very important to point out that there's a big problem here where you almost have, well, in effect, you have a lot of vacancies creeping up just due to the times. And I just hope this would be strongly considered due to the fact that this really should have been zoned O2. No one probably understood it back when this was done just because they were never empty and they just didn't feel like they had to address it. Well, now it's a reality, and I just hope you'll take that under consideration. And with that, I appreciate your time unless you have any other questions.
So your comment is that you want to have this rezoned to O2?
Yeah, just like the application and Vince laid out. But I think it's important to point out the disconnect you're seeing along the stretch. It's a very serious one.
All right, I just want to make sure that myself and the commission understands exactly what you're saying. In that case, does anyone have a question for this?
Yeah, Commissioner Guerrero here. I just kind of wanted to follow up on some of the things that I'm going to say your name wrong. I'm sorry, Mr. Bolsterbaum. I actually used to live in that area for quite a few years, back in college, and then after that. And I mean, it is true. I think a lot of those businesses, unfortunately, are vacant. So my question is this by this zoning change? I mean, it'll be changed to an office, general. So is it just kind of like planned, like, hey, we're going to open it for like all kinds of businesses or like specific type of business, like real estate, retail? Do you have maybe an idea of what, what kind of businesses might come in?
I don't think it's going to be too much of a change from what you've seen going back from the late 70s on up to where we're at today. The high percentage of these buildings are medically built. They support a medical related business. I mean, the times are changing, so I can't look anybody in the eye and say that there might be some alternative uses there that would have applied. But again, I can't stress enough, if they were always allowed to do this under the zoning code, you haven't had any periods of vacancies where all of a sudden in the past few years, you've had a lot of these properties that have been vacant for over a year. They have to meet new zoning standards. There's a whole litany of issues that never applied to the street going over a 40-year period. And now if I were a medical doctor trying to do the same thing along this street, if I filed for a business registration for the same type of use for which this was built, because of the R4 zoning, I'm basically drawing dead on what I could use this property for what it's been used for since 1980, and so it's to me, this is just something that's a major issue along the street. Vince laid it out very well. There's not much more I can say, but it's something I hope you take under serious consideration. There's a major disconnect.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? No other further comment from the public? All right, then I don't see any reason why we can't have a vote. David?
Mr. Chair, this is the vote to recommend approval of the zone change from R4 to O2 for the subject properties. Commissioner Vega.
I vote yes based on staff recommendation and compliance with the neighborhood character and compatibility and Elevate Las Cruces plan.
Commissioner Bennett.
I vote yes based on staff recommendation. This meets Elevate Las Cruces and zoning code.
Commissioner Smith.
I vote yes. It's consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning code and also based on staff recommendation.
Commissioner Guerrero.
I vote yes based on staff recommendations and as well as complying with elevated Las Cruces. I think we need more businesses just in general in that area. It's a great area, so I vote yes.
Commissioner Moniz?
I think she might be muted still.
She was having a problem with family, so I don't know. She may have had to have left.
Yeah.
Well, there she is.
Oh. Well, then I'll go on to Chair Gordon.
Well, based on my site visit and our discussion, and I think that this is appropriate, that this should be done. It does meet the requirements of Elevate Las Cruces, so I definitely vote yes.
Mr. Chair, the recommendation of the P&Z Commission is to approve this zone change. So we'll move forward from there. Thank you very much.
All right, then, considering those two items are now finished, are there any comments from the commission that I'd like to make for this evening?
This is Commissioner Bennett. I'm just wondering when we can get back to in person. I think we talked about it a little bit, and I know Harvey wanted to talk about that too. So.
Well, I understand from legal is that apparently we're not going to get in there maybe until at least July. So I guess we're going to be another month doing this Zoom. By that time, we'll have it down pat, and then we won't need it anymore. All right. Is there anyone else who has a comment? Oh, here he is. Mr. Nichols.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Larry Nichols, Community Development for the record. I'm not certain that the commission had finished any comment, but I had some staff announcements that will address the when will be use of chambers again. I'll wait for comments.
I don't think there are any other. You can go ahead. Your pleasure.
Okay. Thank you again. For the record, Larry Nichols. I have three items, staff comments for you this evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. The first one is to give you some information about the status of the land use update, or somebody often referred to as the zoning code update. As you know, we have hired the consultant, Fries and Nichols, to do that study for us. We've had liftoff this past month. Mr. Weir and Catherine Harrison Rogers have been shepherding that effort. There have been about 4 meetings with stakeholders, with staff, and other public input. They have established their schedule, and I'll see that you, all the members, Mr. Chairman, and all the members of the commission get the schedule to see how this will be unfolded over the next several months. But I just wanted to share with you that that is up and going, and that we're making progress on that. The second item I had for you was to share with you some information about restructuring. The city manager's office has been doing some restructuring with their with the new city manager and assistant city managers. And as a result of that, community development has had two of our two changes. One is a program change. The community improvement program that we have that's under Mr. Weir's purview, they have moved to the economic development department. That's the group that works with the community development block grants and the home funding and affordable housing and that those items. So they're there now with the economic development department. The other change we've had is that this past week it was brought to my attention that Shurjana Basnet, who is a senior planner with Community Development Department, will also be moving to the city manager's office, as taking over the duties of the what is called the performance manager. It has to do a lot with the reasoning behind that. That position has to do a lot with the implementation of the Elevate Las Cruces Comprehensive Plan with all departments citywide. So she'll be taking that position. And there were a couple other changes within the city manager's office that not impact the community development department as much as those two. But those two will be, one is already in practice. The other will happen within the next week or so. Then the third item I had for you is what you were discussing just a moment ago. When can we get back to in-person meetings, face-to-face, having the dais and the podium? And what they have announced now is that City Hall will be opening set for July the 1st. Now that's on a Thursday. And then, of course, then the second, and then the weekend is the 4th of July weekend. So the first meeting in the city chambers, it will probably be, the word I have, it will be on July the 6th, which will be a city council meeting. Then following that would be other meetings, but for you, July the 22nd will be the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that is scheduled to be back in city chambers. So we're all looking forward to that. I know that we are able to conduct our business more effectively when we can see the applicants speak to you person to person. But that's the date that is set at this time. The June meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission is still scheduled to be virtual as we're having tonight. I think that meeting is June the 17th. It's the regular scheduled time of the month. It's the fourth Tuesday evening, I believe, of the month. So I think that's the correct date. I may be off a day or so there. But those are the three items that I wanted to your attention and hopefully add some clarity as to when we get back to into city chambers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes comment.
All right, I just have one thing I'd like to bring up that I just thought about what might be helpful to everyone on the commission. And this is an administrative request. If it would be possible for someone to provide everyone on the commission a complete list now of our email addresses, our telephone, et cetera, like we've had before. We've not had any changes since the last couple of people have left the commission. Also, if we could get now a list of the pertinent people, like for the mayor, the city manager, the assistant city manager, of course, the city council, department heads that are relevant to what we have to do. Otherwise, sometimes I have to scrounge around and go onto the computer to try to find out people that I used to have a complete list, but now some of it is quite outdated. There's no rush on this. If somebody could find a few minutes, perhaps, to sit down and think and just to email this to us or send out that we could print and I could put it in my book, I would appreciate it. I think perhaps everyone would also.
Mr. Chairman, Larry Nichols for the record. Yes, sir. Well, I'll assure you we'll do that. I'll have our administrative staff put together a list of not only the city manager office contacts, but also community development, as well as all the commissioners on the P&Z Commission.
All right. Very good. Thank you. All right. If there is nothing else, I think it's time that we adjourn. It is now 6:50 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn? And a second?
Mr.
Yvonne, you're muted.
I think she was motioning.
Oh.
Now am I, can you hear me?
Yes.
This computer, I swear, oh God, I can't wait to just come to the meetings in person. Before we adjourn, I would like to bring a question to Mr. Nichols or Mr. Weir. I was watching a television program on PBS, and our city was one of the subjects. Maybe you saw it. We have people leaving the state of New Mexico because of the economic, no jobs, no professional jobs. We have specialists leaving Las Cruces, doctors. Our young college kids are leaving and not coming here. They're also leaving Denver, Colorado now. They're going to places like Wyoming. Have staff taken some of this into consideration with all this zone changing and building? Because we have a lot of empty professional buildings now, yet, and the developers keep saying they're building and possible more office space. We don't have the people to fill it. What's the city going to do to attract them here?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Larry Nichols for the record, and Commissioner. Well, I guess I would begin by saying I'm one of those that came back to Las Cruces.
I know.
And my family has been here. My grandfather had a business here. My father had a business. I had a business, and now my daughter has a business here. So there are those that are staying, but we do see quite a few folks leave Las Cruces. What is the incentive behind that, or why does that occur? We're often told that it has to do with them finding gainful employment in other locations, that maybe the salaries are higher than what is available here. I suspect that's one of the major motivations. I don't believe it has to do with how our city is run, or how, what's the availability of housing. We are told sometimes that affordable housing is an issue, which would be related to our community development. But even that, I study that quite a lot. And the housing costs, affordable housing defined as you shouldn't be spending more than 30% of your income on housing. We find that there's quite a bit of affordable housing based on that criteria here in Las Cruces. What we have difficulty with is what we call low income housing or attainable housing. So I think that might be part of the issue, why folks may be leaving. The employment, the salaries of jobs. We do know that we're always in competition with that. But what I will say is this. This I think would be something for you, Commissioner Manise, that might enhearten you a little about folks. We had 752 new residential properties that we had certificates of occupancy last year. If we go with the national average of how many occupants there are in a home, which is about 2.7, I think is the figure. Let's call it 3. 750 times 3 is nearly 2,200 new residents. So, the overall state, the population, the last census showed that it only grew about, I think, 1.5%, something like that. Las Cruces was similar to that, but we are seeing a influx of new residents. Of those 752 new homes that were occupied, the builders tell me that about 60% to 65% of those were folks coming from out of state.
Okay.
So I know that doesn't say how do we keep the folks that went to school here, graduated here, how do we keep them here? But folks are coming to Las Cruces, and we are growing. And I'll defer to Mr. Weir to have his comments for you. And Dave, you want to throw in?
Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols and Commissioners, I'd take a little different bent on it. I think there are some very stable employers in the city. You have the university, you have White Sands, you have NASA, you have all the government activities, whether it be the city, county. So I think you have a very strong base for the city to stay strong. And we're at a population where the services that support those activities are strong. And then I would just say the vision that was put forth in Elevate Las Cruces, the quality of life amenities that you have, just to echo what Larry said, people will choose to live here. And then it's just a matter of what other activities take place. I think the other opportunity we have as a community is as we come out of this pandemic, we realize that you can work remotely. And I think some of those quality of life amenities that Las Cruces offers to people will be a strong attraction. And then I think there's just things that we should work on as a community. You know, we continue to improve our education system, our healthcare system, and just providing nice services to complement the nice lifestyle that we have here. So I think, we need to stay on top of things, but I think we have a really strong set of tools in our toolbox to keep us a strong community.
Thank you.
All right, then this is Commissioner Gordon again. It is now 6:57 p.m. and I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
This is Commissioner Bennett, and I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
This is
All in
Commissioner
favor?
Smith. I second that motion.
All in favor? So just raise your hand. I thank you all. Very good meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Stay safe. Stay safe. Make sure you're inoculated.